captain speaking. We've been cleared for takeoff and we'll be departing shortly.
Go ahead and give that man a round of applause.
That boy's got talent.
Welcome to the Josh Kilgore podcast. Today's guest is a mother and a licensed massage therapist, Sara Buckles.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Super excited. We've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, no doubt. So, let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
Where were you born?
Born and raised right here. Good old Olney, Illinois.
Yeah, me too.
Never ventured out.
Yeah. Really? You never lived anywhere else?
No. I hate to say it, but when my husband was ready to leave, I was not. And then when I was like, let's get out of here, I hate to say it, we were settled. Too much invested in the state as of employment, things like that. So it was like, oh, it would be crazy to leave right now.
Yeah. Yes. I definitely understand. So what was your early life like? Anything you want to get into as far as that?
I mean, I want to give credit where credit is due. I'll say that. So I want to say I had a shitty life, but I didn't growing up. I had a great life compared to others. Yeah. Probably more of a dysfunctional family setup. Yeah. Okay. So credit is due. My grandparents raised me. They're the one who put my beliefs, my morals, all that into my life. Now, don't take that as my parents were absent because they were not. Young parents. My mom was still in high school when she had me.
Really?
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
No. I mean, at 22, 23, when I had my first child, I was like, holy crap, I'm bringing another life into this world.
Yeah.
My dad was young. He had battled some things. He's overcome that.
Good. That's awesome.
He was an alcoholic in his younger years, and I think from family upbringing for him, I have the utmost respect for my father now. He's overcame those. I can sit down and have a great conversation. He's taken, responsibility and, apologizes for those things that hurt me as a child. As my mother, I wish I could say that relationship is fair, but no.
Yeah.
No. And then my best friend's mom, who was my neighbor, my kids call her grandma. She stepped in. My grandparents were killed in a car accident when I was 17.
Good Lord.
So yeah, I've kind of been on my own, I guess you could say, with the direction of them. So
that's pretty early.
It was, yeah. So definitely a workaholic at a young age. Kind of had just a different lifestyle. I wouldn't say I didn't get to enjoy my childhood.
Right, but you had to grow up.
I had to grow up. Yeah.
Wow. So, your family structure growing up was pretty much what you just described then?
Yeah. So I lived with my parents. But I went to my grandparents. Basically, they're the ones I'd get dropped off in the morning while my parents went to work. Then go to school, get home from school, and my grandparents were the ones to pick me up. We ate dinner there a lot of times. And then, go home and go back into the routine. So they were my safe haven. Growing up, my favorite place, still to this day, and I wish we could go back there, and I wish everyone in this world had this, is the table. Oh my gosh. I don't know about you growing up, but grandma's table was just had a, not only was she filling your belly but she was just there to listen. And I thank her for that because I feel like a lot of people now, they listen to respond. Yeah. In this world, they don't actually listen. They're not, and I do that to my children now. I want to listen. And I know my daughters, there are days I'm like, she comes into my bedroom, crawls in bed, and wants to sit and chat. And I've been asleep for an hour. But I'm awake and attent because I never want that to stop.
Yeah. So what is it about the table? What are the things about the table if you had to put it into bullet points?
Every happy moment, never judgmental. It was okay, here's your chance. Like, how was your day? What went wrong? How could you fix that? Or who pissed you off today? I mean, literally, like, what emotions went through you? You're not going to be in trouble if you want to tell me, And if you don't want to talk about it, that's great. But when you're ready, or, just life lessons that she learned throughout her years, like instilling, I know, you're probably thinking this or going through a rough time. I don't want you to feel that right now. And if you're not great, but if you do, like, just come and talk to me.
Yeah. So the conversation, togetherness.
Just the home.
What about the food?
Oh my gosh.
Were your grandparents good cooks?
Yes, actually, not to today's health-wise. The lard was out when frying chicken, and she believed in dessert. Like, cherry and dumplings was my thing.
I've never heard of that.
So, she used to say, I would be like, I want cherry and dumplings, because I couldn't say cherry.
Yeah. My brother used to say sausages.
Instead of sausage?
Yeah, he loves the sausages.
So it is basically like Biscuit.
Yeah.
Dumplings, and she would put like cherry pie filling in there, and then make those and like put them in there, and so
in the dumpling?
In the cherry, in the cherry mix. That would she'd make the dumpling up and kind of fry it, and then throw it in there and stir it, and it was kind of like cherry cobbler, but it was instead of baking and all that, it was just.
That sounds good.
Yeah, and that was more or less like a comfort food, I guess you could say, that she made at least once a week.
Yeah, the table. So in my early life, I'm pretty sure we almost always sat at a table.
Yes.
And I didn't, at the time, I was so young, I didn't understand the importance of it until we essentially, so my mom was with my sister's dad, and we were all like a pretty tight little family. And then when they broke up, there was the table was just gone.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we would sit there and eat our stuff, watching TV or whatever. There was no real conversation from what I remember. And I didn't realize that because it happened so early until I actually moved down to Florida when I was 19 or so. And I got to see my aunt and uncles and how they ran their family essentially. And ever since that, I like the sitting down as a unit and talking like you did is so important, just for many reasons.
I agree. Yeah,
and it's like you're loving and nurturing one another.
And I hate to say, our table is not utilized a lot at all week either.
So it's like a weekend thing for you guys?
Yeah. A lot of times we have a bar, so like the kids are eating. Their schedules can be chaotic. So during the week, I try to, by the end of the week, when my husband's schedule allots for time off, I'm like, clean the table off. But then there are days it's like it's the same. Like it's so crazy that a lot of times it's like they sit at the bar and then like when they're done we eat. I mean, I hate to say that, but
at least you're making time.
Yes.
For that. On a weekly basis,
yes.
I feel like that's a big deal.
One of my friends, they just built a new house and they built this huge farm table, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love your table!" And she's like, "We've got to get back in the habit of, sitting around and having family in." And so I was like, "Oh, I love it."
Hell yeah! So, what kind of kid were you like in school, growing up, that kind of stuff?
Elementary school, I was a know-it-all. I'm not gonna lie, like
not a
know-it-all, but I didn't like to listen to direction. I'm a firstborn, so I wanted to always take charge.
Yes.
I knew before the teacher read the instructions, I was reading. I'm like, okay, and they're like, we're not there yet. I'm like, oh, I thought we were just doing it by ourselves.
So, would you? Myself personally, like, I don't like authority, and I don't like feeling like I have to do something, or like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That type of thing. And I don't like being told what to do, so on. Would you say that you were similar to that?
Yeah, that way. Oh, you're gonna tell me to do that? No,
now
that's
I
on the
don't
back
wanna do it
burner now.
anymore.
Yeah,
Like if I wanted to do it before and somebody told me that I should do it, I don't want to do it.
exactly.
I don't know why that is, but I think that's interesting. Maybe that's what kind of led us into working in the way that we work.
Exactly. Oh yes, there are days. I don't know about you, but I'm like, I just want to go punch in and not have to worry about everything else going on, like behind the scenes. And then I'm like, no, I don't want someone setting my schedule. I don't want someone telling me, well, production's down or this or that. You got to come in Saturday and at least work till noon to get the production level up to this. And I'm like, no.
I talk to a lot of guys that work in factories and stuff like that in the barbershop, and it's like they're mandated overtime, and I'm like, that is just like, I do not like the thought of that at all. Like, you're gonna make me stay, or else like I face penalty. Like, that is like, holy crap.
And I kind of use that
get it,
analogy.
I
don't know about you. If people are like, oh, but my only days off are this or this, and I'm like, I'm sorry, that's my day off. Like, but what's your schedule like during the week? Like, I have this available and blah, blah, blah. And so throughout the years, I've got my clientele pretty well where I want them, I guess, in respect, if that makes sense, of my time.
Yeah. Was it a learning curve to kind of, I don't know how to say it other than figure out how to steer your clientele in like a productive manner, as opposed to being like, yeah, dude, I ain't going to do that. Like,
yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So, at first, our business aspect in school for massage therapy was nothing. I wish I would have taken like an actual business marketing class, something on that aspect.
Yeah.
Because it was nothing but learning. A learning curve. And at first I was like, oh, I have to please everybody to get my clientele built up. And probably 6 to 8 months in, I was like, no, like, they want me. They want the service I'm offering. Yeah. And so if I say, hey, I'm so sorry, I have this available, this and that, like, I don't have to explain to them, I can't do that because my kid has this or that. Like that, here are my office hours, here's what I have. And so I kind of lean into it that way, not like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. Recent conversation with another therapist, she said, if they're hurting that bad, she's like, I'm going to do an after hours fee. If I don't have anything going on, I don't mind going in, but also for us, like, there is prepare time, even though people don't think that. There's prepare time beforehand, there's cleanup time. So I'm going to get paid for my work. And I was like, oh, I never thought of it that way. I just say, let's see what your schedule's like with my availability in my office is how I always go.
And so when I first started, I kind of felt that obligation as well to serve my client because that's genuinely what I wanted to do, and if somebody, was like, hey man, I know you close at 6, but I got this going on. Like, I almost always would do that. And I found it's kind of stressful because you like mentally prepare to leave at a certain time, and then that kind of disrupts that, for me at least.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, there is that pressure that you want to serve all your clientele, and you want to. But man, if you did that, you would be working. If you non-stop. Had your clientele built up, you're nonstop, and that's like you have to balance that. You absolutely have to. So that is a good lesson learned from being in business as well, especially early on. Exactly what you said. Like when I was in barber school, they didn't teach me anything about business. How to run stuff, how to kind of. It would have been nice to have like a kind of like a professionalism.
Yes.
Like talk at least, say, hey, you want to do things in this manner. But I kind of took from my last jobs that I worked, and I kind of applied that to the barbershop. Like, okay, we're open this time to this time. That's what it is. This is how, like, almost like policy, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you have like your
I worked
policy?
At a spa very briefly in Indiana after massage school, because over there at the time you didn't have to be licensed. You just had to have credit hours. So as soon as I finished massage school, out here at OCC. I took it and ran, and I went there and worked weekends only.
Okay, so you're working at a spa straight after school.
Yes.
Not quite licensed yet.
Yes. And I learned a lot there that I did not learn in school.
Yeah.
But I was only there for, I think, 6 months. And when I found out I was pregnant with my son and was put on bed rest. So, like, I just quit completely. And I didn't do anything until the kids really got older.
Wow.
I mean, I did help a friend or an acquaintance out here and there here in town. But I really didn't, like, just open up. I was scared. You know, it's a small community, and we're saturated with, and that's what I would hear from people. And the fear set into me as in, like, oh my goodness, they're right. Like, hey, we have too many cosmetologists, we have too many massage therapists because we have the school here. And I was like, I don't want to fail.
Yeah.
And so learning experience going there, and I talked to they set me up with this lady, which was great, mentor-wise. I was going to basically take over her clientele. She was leaving. Her husband was moving for his job, and they were leaving. They had been in the area, but she also had her home office in Tell City, Indiana, just not quite far. So she would only work there on the weekends, and then during the week she worked at her home office, basically. And for her, she's like, listen, like, you have to. She's like, I've learned from here, and that's how I moved to doing this. She's like, now we're moving, but she's like, you have to set a policy that works for you, whether it's cancellation policy, you know, how many clients you're going to take a day because it's going to wreak havoc on your body. What modalities, like, there's so much in body work. Yeah. That I refer out because I can't learn all that stuff, you know. And I have a good repertoire with certain therapists in our area. I really can't say in town. The older therapists in town, I've known them for a while. And so, but they're slowing down. And they're not doing deep tissue work anymore, things like that. So I'm referring out to other therapists that I found, you know, in Jasper County and Lawrence County, like, things like that. So she is the one who was like, you have to do it now, or you're going to regret it. Yeah,
I kind of want to dig into what those lessons that you learned from her and stuff. But before that, I had something, and it's slipping my mind right now. No, it's fine. It has to do with early business. Sorry, fellas.
No.
And setting your policy. I'm drawing a complete blank, so never mind.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get off subject.
No.
I know once it's there, you gotta, like, spit it out.
So, I mean, okay, I remember exactly what it is now. When you first started, there's people telling you that the market is saturated and, like, negative things, and, like, you know, I don't know if you should do that because it's it's unstable. Right. I guess it's not as stable as if you were go to work for someone else. So what kind of stuff did you hear like that from the people around you when you were first starting, or you wanted to go into massage therapy?
It was that exactly. Like, it's saturated. There's not enough business in this town.
Were there a lot of people telling you that type of stuff? Like, in general, like, did most people say, I don't know, you probably shouldn't do that? Or did most of the people around you say, that's awesome, like, congratulations, I wish you the best?
A lot of them were like, I wish you the best. Yeah, I wouldn't say they're like, oh, that's a horrible decision. They were just like, just remember there's disappointment when it comes to opening up your new business. You know, that's great for you, but also look at the aspect of how many people we have in this town doing that. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say, not like, oh, you shouldn't do that. They were just trying to, I guess, mentally prepare me. Yeah. I think because I'm an all and nothing person. Like, that's my mentality. Like, I'm like, you know. And so I want to look at the positive aspect and not the negative. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like, am I setting myself up for failure? Yeah. That was in the back of my mind. I'm an overthinker. I am totally an overthinker.
Yeah.
So I can think the good, the bad, everything. And then once I get that mindset, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. For me, before I even went into barber school, I remember a specific person was like, "Oh, you want to be a barber? Like, why do you want to do that?" Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, it doesn't matter why I want to do that. Like, I want to do that. Like, you should support me in what I want to do. But the majority of people around me said, and especially when I moved back here, said it's not going to work. What you do is not going to work here because you're used to doing a certain set of things, which there was a learning curve coming up here with the different haircuts.
I wondered what the difference of being down there to here were, to be honest.
We can definitely get into it if you want. But so I would say as a generality, most people up here want longer hair because it's not so hot throughout the entire year. So I was doing a lot of fades and stuff like that down there, whereas I had to really, really hone in. And it was a struggle for me at first to come up here and really hone my shear work, my scissor skills. But that was the main thing. And then also the language that they use to try and describe that haircut they want is totally different up here.
I can imagine. Oh my goodness. We can
definitely get into that. But the overwhelming majority of people that I told that I wanted to be a barber and I want to own my own business and stuff was highly negative. And I did it anyway, and now I think a lot of them are proud of me. So, guys, if somebody says you can't do something or like whatever, definitely heed their warning, like understand where they're coming from and what they're talking about, but
prove them wrong.
Prove them wrong, man. If you know in your heart that you can do it, and if you don't make it, you learned a lot of lessons along the way. That is massive, I think, in going into your own thing, because you're responsible for everything, and I mean everything that goes on within your business. You got any thoughts on that?
So I had actually, was it Wednesday or Thursday? I had a lady call me and she's like, "I'm at your place. I was wanting to get a gift card." And I was like, "Well, I will be there at such and such time." And she's like, "So there's no one else here?" And I said, "I am a one-man show. I am the receptionist. I am my accountant. I am, I said, I am sorry, but at this time, I'm at an appointment myself." She's like, "Okay, I'll just make it a trip back." And she's like, "I really didn't realize that." And she was apologetic. She's like, awesome. I did not realize that. Yeah. And I was like, "Well, I'm sorry. We had some other stuff going on, but I come in normally at this time. Yeah. Now my door does not have my office hours on it, but online does." Yeah. So yeah.
And I actually need to update mine. Mine's not right.
And I'm getting ready to change the summer hours, I think. Just because the kids' schedules, and that is one reason, I love being self-employed. I am a mother first. My clients respect that. Yeah. That I have. I've lost some clients, and it's okay. I've lost a lot of them. Because I fired a client this year. First time firing a client, and
Ever?
It wasn't.
How long have you been doing it?
5 years now, almost 5 years full time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you fired your first client.
I did. My daughter was sick. At the beginning of the year, she had contracted COVID. And she's 14. I get it. And the lady said to me when I was calling everybody, I was like, "I'm going to reschedule these people. I'm going to," and you know how that is to reschedule people and to make time is, you're like, "How am I going to squeeze these people in?" And so, I called her and I was like, "Hey, I really hate to do this, but I've got a sick one, so I'm going to have to reschedule you." And her response was, "She doesn't need her mom. She's 14. And I was like, God, she doesn't feel good. And she's like, "What are you going to do?" And I'm like, "Be there if she needs me." Yeah. Then she came back with, "Why don't you make your husband step up?" I lost it. First off, I try to keep my private life separate from my business.
For sure, that's out.
And my husband wasn't even in the state, and so I lost it. And I was irate, and I'm sure this lady is probably going to give me all kinds of names right now, and I don't care. But I was like, first off, he's not even home. That's none of your business. And second off, it's my child.
Wow.
You don't have the right to tell me
Yeah.
how to run my business when my child's sick.
Yeah, it's your household, it's your family unit, and it's your business. You run that as you see fit. It's not up to anyone else to tell you, you should do this or you should do that. Because number one, a person like that has probably never been in your shoes where you are the receptionist. You are the,
exactly.
you know what I'm saying? You are everything. And not only that, you know, of course, your responsibilities at home.
Exactly. And so I just told her, hey, you know, I think it's time we part ways. I said, everybody else was, when I've called them this week, make sure, take care of her. If you need something, let me know. Like, and I just lost it. And I was like, you know what? I can fill that spot with someone who actually values my time.
For sure.
And, the next month came around and she's like, I didn't get an appointment reminder. And I was like, no, I told you. Like, I go, I'm sorry, but you drew the line for me. And I said, at this point, like, there are other therapists in town. I'm glad that are great in the work they do. I'll give you a referral to them. But I was like, at this time, I don't need that. I don't need the negativity in that. And she's like, I was hurting. And I was like, I understand that. But I was like, that drew the line. When you bring in my children, and you can't respect that, I was like, we're done. I'm sorry, but we're done. And I shouldn't even apologize, but I was like, you drew the line.
I don't blame you one bit. So, let's go. Okay, so what kind of stuff did you learn from the lady that you first worked for in India?
So the actual owner of the spa was a marketing manager at the radio station there. And so she did a lot of that aspect of it. So I kind of learned a little bit, not a whole lot, but, she's like, this is what I do. And she's like, I have these lead therapists and they know what they're doing there. Yeah. So she's like, if you have problems, go to them first, then come to me. Very open. They had estheticians. I mean, it was just all over spa. They had everything there.
I think that's good that it seems like she set up like kind of a chain of command.
Yes.
You know, I think that's really important. I mean, if you look at, any other business, they've got that too. So if you're going to work with people. Yeah,
you have to, learn how to, go, not just overhead this person if that person doesn't know. So this therapist, I don't even remember how many years she had been in, and she'd worked all over because her husband's job. So, and she'd been there, I think, 4 years when I came in. And she literally was like, whatever you learned from school, my practicum was on her. So like my initial massage was on her. Like she was the one that was going to hire me or not.
Oh.
Yeah, this girl.
I make sure everybody, the first day they come in to either, kind of check out the shop or whatever, they give me a haircut. And oh my God.
Were you like, are your nerves up? And I know their nerves are up. Because I was
Mine's
like, oh my gosh.
Not really. I mean, I come in assuming the worst.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so
my nerves were a wreck. First off, I'm like, I literally just finished school and I'm working on this therapist. And so, she was great. She gave feedback the whole time, and she's like, you learned to flow, didn't you? I was like, yes. And she's like, I can tell, because you're just doing. And she's like, your pressure is she's like, it's there, but not 100%. She's like, just know that you're not going to hurt someone. Yeah. In certain areas. Ease up on these areas, type thing. And then she goes.
So they didn't teach you that kind of thing in school?
No. To an aspect, yes.
Yeah. Maybe like they kind of just touched on it.
They basically teach you to go work at a spa, I hate to say. And it's like relaxation.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to get into like more like therapeutic or deep tissue, like that's on you to go learn yourself. They basically want you to know how the body works in a way. And basically our flow was, okay, you're going to go up and down this direction a few times. Like you are just there to calm their mind.
Wow.
And so when it comes to massage, there's all aspects of why you should get a massage. I mean, if you have anxiety, things like that, and you just want to relax, there's a modality called craniosacral. I don't do that, but there are other massage therapists in the area that do that, and that is more of triggering on the nervous system
Huh.
and things like that. And then
I would love to get into
there's
that.
like therapeutic is one of my I would say I offer it. It's one of my go-to, and it is mainly for those who train. I would say if you work out a lot, or pain management is another thing that I have a lot of clients come to me for, is like pain management. And that's more that deep tissue work where you need it, a little bit of a mixture of everything. There's just all of that. So when you're in school, they are training you to go work at a spa somewhere. They want you to be a busy bee for someone else, to revenue for them.
So when I was in school, it was largely focused on, they taught you the basics of haircutting, but before all of that, it was more so about like disinfection, like I guess sanitary work practice and stuff like that. Chemicals, hey, if you do this and you whatever, you're gonna fry their hair or burn their scalp, or all kinds of stuff like that. And what I equated that to is the state really don't care if you're cutting good hair or not. They care if you're being sanitary and spreading disease or whatever else, which is definitely a thing in a barbershop.
Yes.
Do you feel like it was kind of the same with you? Like they didn't really care how good of a massage therapist you were. They cared that you had a baseline knowledge and that you weren't, doing things that you probably shouldn't.
Correct. Yeah, that is really all it was. In school, same thing, sanitary, what kind of lotions and creams, the differences about, people who have, allergies with smell and not to use, essential oils for this, or, so do they teach you to kind of use, like, more natural products with not, like, a lot of craziness in them? The instructors I had, no, I wouldn't say 100%. So there's different instructors out at the school than what I had. It was more spa-based type stuff. Here is like the big name companies, or that you can order from. You want to make sure that there's not too much water in your lotion, or if you're going to use oil, because the water it can. It's good for glide, but the skin is going to soak it up, because a lot of people do not moisturize.
Me.
And I am one of those people. Like, I do not.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So that type of thing, and then of course we learned basically the basics. Like we started learning. Basically gliding and kneading, that type of thing. But when
you say basics, like, so for me with the haircutting basics, it was the basics. There wasn't, they didn't teach me nothing.
No, it was a lot of, gliding and kneading and tapotement. So I don't know if you know what tapotement is, but if you ever watch like a movie where they're like doing the jackknife on people's back, that's tapotement. Like those are the big three. Yeah, those are like the big three strokes or whatever, like movements that you use. And I'm like, I don't want someone beating on my back. Like, that is not what I want. But those are like, it's good for, like, when they have phlegm. And it is. Like, it is getting on there. Like, if you have, like, upper respiratory, things like that, kind of knocking stuff off the lungs and things like that. But I personally am not going to sit there and just beat someone up. You use
that would be kind of strange, like approaching another human being and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna karate chop you." Like,
exactly. So
don't worry about it. There's a reason.
They just basically the basics. Like basics. Okay, you're gonna slide up and down their calf and hamstrings, and then you're gonna come back, and then they basics tools of using your hand. A little bit of your forearm. Everything else is really on you and how it's supposed to be body mechanics, honestly. We did learn a lot of that. I will say that in school. I threw that all out. I'm not going to lie. And my body wreaks havoc afterwards because I used bad body mechanics. But as a whole, everyone...
like your actual approach to your posture and the way that you're moving your body. Okay.
So a lot of people are always like, "Oh, your hands must hurt. You're strong," and I'm like,
I would think forearms is probably
my forearms are really the I use them a lot. I do use like trigger point, I would call it, with my fingers. My thumb gets jammed a lot because I do dig into certain and just put pressure with things, and I'm horrible about my body mechanics. So body mechanics is a big thing, and that is what a lot of people come in. I'm like, oh, you know, they're forward rolling or the text neck, things like that. So totally, and text neck. Yeah, text neck. So I don't. If you've ever been into my office and I say, oh, you know, you need to get a good stretching regimen, mobility.
Yeah.
I am also the one who says, I don't practice what I preach. So if you take this with a grain of salt, like when I hurt, then I'm like, oh, there's my elastic bands. I need to be working on this, or I have a lacrosse ball. I'm going to use this for some trigger point or things like that. I'm horrible, and I was like, listen, you know, you need to try to, you know, more mobility exercises, more of this, get into that routine, stretching, yoga, but if you don't do it when you come in here next time, I'm not going to be offended because guess what? Until it hurts, I am not doing it either.
Yeah, for sure. I deal with a lot of that in the barbershop because I have to look down. My chair doesn't go up in a manner to where I could be at eye level with what I'm doing, so I pretty well have to look down and do what I'm doing and having my arms out like this. Things like that, and of course, you know, you've massaged me. Just that in between the shoulder blades in the back, you know, whatever that is, and then up here, and my neck just gets to killing me. And I would assume
my neck kills me, and we are taught not to look at what we're working on, to look straight ahead. I am a visual person, so guess what I'm doing? Like I'll catch myself, and I'll be like, okay, time to look up. And I'm like, again, 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, I don't practice what I preach. And then a lot of squatting and lunging is where our power comes from, to be honest. Like, we use our core when we're doing things for flow and things. So,
so
our tools are our fingers.
Your athletic stance on and getting...
So our tools are our fingers and forearms, elbows, but a lot of our power actually is coming through our hips and core, because we are sitting there doing a lot of lunging and squats, and how we power through things like that. So
I'm pretty passionate about martial arts, and I used to practice it a lot. I've been not into that for the past forever. But that's one thing that, especially I think the more Japanese, Chinese type stuff, they teach you that your power comes directly from the earth.
Yes.
So you're pressing off of the earth into whatever you're doing.
So grounding, like they want you to be grounded with the earth, and
Yep. It comes from your feet, then your knees, then your hips, then your core. You know, it's a whole, you're a machine.
That's interesting, yeah.
You know, it's pretty cool.
It is, yeah.
But, wow, that's interesting how that applies to that as well. But, what else we got?
I know, I think I've gotten way off topic here. Sorry.
That's fine. This is what it is all about. I am going to take a bathroom break. We're back. So, is there anything else that you learned in school, or working for the people after school? And that type of thing.
In school, no. I mean, I can't say that. I mean, it was basic. I wish the school... So when I went to school, I guess we'll start there. It was you start in the fall and graduate in that summer. Mm-hmm. It was all intense. I felt like we covered a lot of material in a short amount of time. And it felt like basically they are teaching you enough to pass your test, if that makes sense. Like your exam, your licensing exam.
So essentially you feel it was kind of, for lack of a better term, half-assed?
Yes. Because my business class, we had a small business class, and it was how you would set up your room. Those type of things. Not
interesting.
So I had to see, I'll go here, sorry. I'm kind of all over the place. So the CEO program was in my office back in November, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what that is?
Sort of.
So the high school, I wish that type of thing was for us.
Yeah.
Back in the day, basically it's an entrepreneurship, and you have to get accepted into the program, and they start their own business. Like, they do a class business together, but they also do their own business, is how I get it. And I had 3 or 4 of their students come. One day they had reached out to me asking me if they could come and ask questions. And I mean, at that age, I would have not asked those questions.
Yeah.
Kind of, why did you pursue, like, can you tell us one of the questions was, how did you come up with your pricing?
Yeah.
In school, I was taught.
The kids are asking you?
The kids are asking me this.
Wow.
Their teacher, I mean, they want
That's
explanation of things. And I was flabbergasted. I was like,
that's too
oh
cool.
my gosh. Like, as a student at that time, I wouldn't have thought to ask that question. But as a college student, when we ask that question, look at your competitors and kind of, that's basically what they told us. Like, look at your competitors where you're opening up at, where you are going to be at. Eyeball it to that and ballpark it to that is what I was taught. Yeah. As I told them when I rebranded, because I was at the gym for 3.5, 4 years. Yeah. Started out there. I just grew. I needed the bigger space. And now I'm at my new location. I've been there for a year. And so when it came to rebranding and things like that, that's when I sat down and actually crunched numbers.
Like, were you still comparing that to what I would kind of, I don't know, like the standard rate? Right.
Yeah, I was just going standard rate.
And then,
And so I didn't really think of it all as a mathematical equation.
Yeah, right.
And so I was like, okay, I've been doing this now for so long. Like, I know a gallon of lotion is going to last me X amount of clients. Like, and so I was like, okay, so here's this. Like, this is my rent. These are my utilities. Like, here's my software. Like, I went down and broke it to that. And then that's when I raised my rates.
Have you broke it down to where you know exactly what it costs you per massage? Roughly.
Roughly, yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, I did that. I did that. Yeah, I did do that.
I don't know if we want to divulge that information.
Well, it depends on what modality they're getting, to be honest.
Yeah, of course. There's different services.
Yeah, there's different services, and there's more, in depth of certain things. And so I just raised my rates up comfortably to that area of what I knew it's going to cost and what I need to cover my expenses. Yeah. And then what, people are like, oh, but you make this much an hour. That's what you're charged. I'm like, if you really knew what I actually make an hour. Yeah. No, I don't.
So I essentially operate out of where I live, but before I had 2 electric bills. Mm-hmm. I had, you know what I mean? There's 2 of everything, and that's massive.
It is.
And I don't think people that run their own business really realize that type of thing. It's more than just the lotion, and it's more than just the sheets and whatever else, because you have to wash those sheets. There's detergent involved in that.
There's continuing education. There's liability insurance people don't think about. I mean, I had someone, when I first started out, was like, a gallon of lotion does not cost you that much. Like, all you do is spread lotion. And I was like, no, that's not what I do.
Somebody actually said that to your face.
They did. And I think it was out of ignorance, not knowing. It wasn't rude. It was I just don't understand, and it was more of a question as he had been to a couple of different therapists, and he's like, I just don't understand the pricing. Yeah. Because of that. And then I was like, well, let's see here. I have to have this and I have to have that. And the state requires me this now on top of the other. And he was like, whoa, there's that much into it?
Well, so you...
Yes.
When you go into working for yourself, no matter what it is, you have to dedicate the time. If you have to go to school, you're dedicating time, which time is money.
Exactly.
To go to that school, to learn a baseline knowledge. And then after... you're spending your time as well in developing your expertise, I guess. Yes. When it comes to said thing. So you're not only charging for your time. You are charging for your expertise and your knowledge in what it is that you do. And that right there is, I feel like, what sets certain people apart. It's like how much pride they take in what they're doing, which shines through their expertise and ultimately their service if you are in the service industry.
Yes, I agree. Definitely agree with that. Like it took, How
many lotions have you went through? Because that's a thing too. Like I've been through every clipper on the market that is reputable. And there's a few different kinds of those too. You got your trimmers, your detachable blade clippers, your regular, tapering blade clipper. I'm losing my thought here. Adjustable blade clipper. But there's tons of them. And I've been through them all. And that is an investment in itself. And I've figured out the system that works for me, as well as the different products. You know what I mean? Beard oil, the hot lather. I know what disinfectants I like, and stuff like that. Have you gone through that journey as well?
Yes. So I don't even remember the first lotion I started out with. It was like bamboo something, and then I found something different that I liked. And actually, I just had this conversation with a colleague. We trade services, and so she's like, I don't like this lotion. She's like, what's different about it?
She was using yours?
She was using mine. So I go to her office one month. She comes to my office the next month. And we trade services. I don't like to trade. So I wanna get this out here because people are like, oh, well, are you, can I trade out this? Would you give my wife? And I'm like, no. I'm going to pay you for your service. You're going to pay me for my service.
Yeah, I mean,
but when it comes to my colleagues, because we don't take care of ourselves like we should, in the last few years, we've gotten on a routine of this. And so she was down not too long ago for trade day at my office. And she said that. And she's like, did you change lotions? I was like, no, it's the same brand. I said, but I noticed, I said, I didn't have to actually use my pump to put it into my smaller containers. I said it was very liquidy. So I think their ratio has changed of the water solubles and things like that. And I said the other day, I was like, I felt like I was lathering this person up because I was like, it was just soaking so much. And I'm thinking about just throwing it out. And I said, I ordered 4 bottles. And I was like, I hope they're not all like that.
Oh, man.
And I was like, but I guess I need to be on the market to look for something different because they've changed something in the way that they've made it. And it's like, I'm like, I've been using that one for probably a year now. Yeah. And I've had great luck. And it was thick enough to use as it was a butter, basically. It was called butter lotion. And so it was a thick, almost like a cream, but still lotion-wise. I know a lot of therapists use just olive oil. I don't like the oily feeling myself.
Olive oil?
Olive oil or coconut oil, because coconut oil starts as a solid, and then it dissipates and so
is it a product based on that, or are they literally
just using olive oil?
Using olive oil. Wow.
We did use that in school. That was one of the oils. You can use olive oil. Was it JoJo whatever oil? Yeah. I don't know. They just had
a lot of beard oils have jojoba in them. I think it's pronounced jojoba.
I don't know either. I'm horrible. But they had just simple, and we had a jar of coconut oil, and and then they had biotone lotions and different things. They had gels, and I did not like the gels whatsoever. So they had
I don't like messing with shave gel. Usually. Yeah. Don't like it.
Is it I don't know, for gel for us, it's an oil and lotion or gel mix, almost it reminds me of, you obviously wouldn't know this because you've not had kids, but when they're using a gel on your stomach for ultrasound, it's sticky and gooey and cold and gooiness, and I was like, no, I do not want that to be on me.
So the hair, what is it? The shave gel, from my experience, has largely been it's what do they call that stuff? Aloe. It's largely aloe based, which I don't know if that's a water based thing or not, but I would assume.
I would assume so. Yeah.
I don't know, but Yeah, it's just usually it's got like way too much of a scent, and yeah, just the texture of it is gross and it's cold. Whereas my other stuff, like when I put the oil in my hands, I kind of try to warm it up before I put it on someone's face
Right.
because that's not a good feeling.
No, I have lotion warmers because my hands are always cold.
Is it kind of like a candle warmer?
It's like a bottle warmer, actually, like a baby bottle warmer. They're just like these little.
Is it a cylindrical object?
Yes, pretty much. And then like the bottle slips down in there.
That is awesome.
I have two. I have one that I absolutely love, and it has where you can set like the heat on it to what you want it as, and a timer. So like if I have a client at 8:30, I set the timer to turn on at like 7:30 that next morning, and it will start warming it up. My other one is just a switch, and it literally looks like a baby bottle warmer, but it's a lotion warmer.
I kind of want to look into. You got to get me straight on that.
I will. I'll send you the one that has the timer. I got on Amazon, and I absolutely love it because, like I said, you just set it. I probably need another one of those. My other one I've had. I don't even know how long. It had died before too long because I've had it forever. But the one I love this one because I just set the timer on. And I don't even have to worry about it. Yeah.
So that is another business expense. Yes. That's a part of your equipment.
It is, yes. Yeah. And I have a towel warmer. You do hot towels I've seen on the periods and stuff.
How long do you, budget time for your towels to warm up?
So I normally, depending on how full I have it. So I try to fill it as day by day basis. I actually have 2 towels.
So you do yours once a day, essentially? Yes. And how many hours are you working?
I see.
Roughly.
Okay, so it depends. I see 4 clients a day. That's my max here lately. Otherwise,
okay.
But
so you're not going through like a ton of towels then, or?
Normally 12 a day.
12?
Yeah, I would say about 12 a day, give or take. Yeah, and it depends. If that's a 30-minute, and if we're just doing a concentration on their back or neck or whatever, or a 90-minute session. So
that's one of your like first, one of your duties prep for your day.
Yes, as I prep my towels, and then turn them on. Yeah. Turn the table warmer on because everyone loves a little heat to relax while they're laying there. So that is definitely a prep thing and I think I can hold 25 or 30. I have 2 warmers actually.
Yeah, mine's like a miniature one. I can only fit 8 towels in it.
We have one in the bathroom at our space. Now that Corbin is there me, which she's her own entity. We have a suite, but we share a bathroom. And she had a little towel warmer as well. And I had this older one that I've had that was bigger. And I was like, do you want this? Well, for her facials, she only needs like 4 a day or something. But now we put that in our bathroom, and there's a sign that says hot towels. Like after you're done washing your hands, if you want to wipe your hands with a hot towel. But we actually stock it extra so we can go get it, and we turn it on every morning so that we have that extra in case we need it.
Yeah,
and just stock our warmers.
I've seen barbershops where they have it set up to where it's kind of like mine, in the way that I like to do things is. Each station has its own towel warmer, but they also have an auxiliary towel warmer that's bigger. So that, and usually places like that will have a receptionist, you know, so you come in, you deal with them, and that person will sweep the floors as well as get those hot towels ready. And that way, nobody's like,
Right.
It takes roughly, for me, possibly like a half hour or so for the towels to actually get to where I want them, temperature-wise. So I'll get down here a half hour before my first client, get that done. It takes me, 15 to 20 minutes, 15 minutes to 30 minutes really, depending on the service. So it takes that amount of time. I guess it would be closer to 45 minutes to actually get the towels hot.
Yeah. I normally do an hour before. I do have it's called a facial steamer, and not like one that you would think an esthetician uses. It's round.
Huh.
And I put my hot stones in there, and you fill the bottom up with water, and it's small. It holds 3 towels, I think, in it. But if I'm something's, if we had an appointment or something going on and I'm not there an hour before, I'm only 30 minutes there.
Yeah.
I use that and put the towels for my first client, and I warm those up. And they get hot super fast.
Oh, wow.
I can put it on for like 30 minutes and they're like steaming hot. So I normally do like 15 minutes and then I throw it in the towel warmer and they stay warm in there afterwards. So yeah.
So how did, it was when I got out of barber school, especially doing certain things like shaves and stuff like that. Number one, the putting a straight, no safety, anything, just razor to another human being's face was terrifying.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I could not do that.
Especially people with really, really coarse beard, and beard hair can be very coarse. But that was nerve-wracking. And it was also really, really awkward to have somebody leaned back in my chair and be massaging essentially oil into their beard and touching their face and stuff. So for me, this might be something interesting to get into. I don't like to be touched by anyone. So,
I'm laughing because I just had this conversation with someone the other day.
To do that is kind of a nerve-wracking deal. I think I'm about 10 years into my barbering career, so I don't really care these days. But I know that when that person comes in, the first time I had somebody doing that, it was kind of weird, and I think it's it's a strange thing. So, and then not only that, approaching a person and actually cutting their hair, because I've got to comb their hair, I've got to pull it up, and you got to get in there,
You're
man.
in personal space, yeah.
Yeah, it's strange. So approaching the person was just a very weird feeling. Did you run into that as well?
I feel like. So I guess I'm a little different. I feel like in my business, in my aspect of, I always tell my clients, especially, I still get nervous when I have someone new come in. My regulars I'm very comfortable with. But I personally am like, when they're like, how far do I disrobe? Things like that. Your level of comfort.
Whatever you're cool with.
Whatever you're a sheet and a blanket.
Yeah.
If you're on the table. Now I do Thai massage as well, and that's fully clothed.
Fully clothed?
Yes. So you are in like active wear.
Shirt and all.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
But it is not massage. Like,
yeah.
It is a type of body work, but it's not massage where you're doing lotion and things like that. It is more of a compression.
What is that?
So I use my feet instead of my hands for the most part.
Oh man, that sounds awesome.
If you have, I recommend it for people who have hip issues. I have 3 or 4 people that come for 90 minutes, and that's what we do. Is mainly I use my foot, walk up and down their IT band, the side of their their thigh here, and do motions basically. Hip circles where they're relaxed, things like that, different
so you're
stretching.
Actually moving their leg and opening their hips up or whatever.
And so, and a lot, like I said, a lot of compression using the foot, which is more of a broader compression than me digging an elbow or things in there like that. So, per se, so I had a parent back over Christmas break had made appointments for her 2 sons. They're athletes, they're younger. They had, done some chiropractic, had talked to the chiropractor, was like, maybe something like this would help. And so she made appointments. And the first question when she came in with them was, the boys were like, do we have to get undressed? And I said, no. You do not have to get undressed. A, I don't want you uncomfortable. B, let's talk about what's bothering you first and see. And so I moved them to the mat on the floor on the mat. And we just did some compression. It happened to be their hamstrings. So it worked perfect. More of a compression, different things like that, working on their hamstrings, quads, things like that. So when it comes to personalities, I don't want anyone to ever feel uncomfortable. They're coming in because they have an issue, whether it's pain management, something's, tight. So I let them choose, because I don't want them to feel uncomfortable whatsoever. And I always say, you know, if you want to talk, ask questions, like I'll answer the best of my ability when we're doing things. Please do so. It's your session. It's your, you know, I'm just providing the service and trying to get you to where you need to be.
Do you notice a difference in like these younger kids versus like an older person and a middle-aged person? Are their muscles like, are they different in any way?
So I would say, I want to say like our age range, and older, like we are stiff, we are beyond, because we weren't taught. I mean, we were to an aspect, but going back to my first time getting a massage, I mean, I thought it was, you know, a relaxation. Like I went for our birthday or anniversary type thing. Like, it was more of a gift of, you know,
like
that.
Pampering time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought it would be. I honestly did, until I got to talk to a massage therapist, who had worked at different places and was like, oh no, massage is more than this. And that's kind of how I got into the massage, wanting to go back to school for massage. I actually was a receptionist at a chiropractic office after I had my daughter. I'd stayed home with her for a little while. I was there 2.5, 3 years. And we had a massage therapist there, and she would sit with me behind my desk in between her clients, and we just got to know each other and talk. And then that's one reason I was like, oh, I didn't know. Like I personally did not know that it could be used for, you know, mobility, strength, you know, just mobility, loss of mobility, like because of, you know, tightness, different things, rehab, and pain management. That is the one I see a lot of. Like people with fibromyalgia, different other aspects. Like they literally come in for more of a holistic care of pain management. It's not a fix, but they don't want to take drugs for it. And so they come and stay on a regular regimen of, you know, massage, chiropractic, or whatever else they need, for mainly pain management.
What made you, was there like a defining moment that it's like, okay, massage therapy is what I want to dedicate my life to?
Yes, actually. So after sitting there and talking with Carenza throughout the years, and she told me about working at a clinic in, I think it was Texas or something, like a rehab clinic, things like that. So then I was like, oh, I think I want to do this. And then I was like, well, I want to go on further. I want to do PT. Like, I want to do PTA. Like, I want to do that. So I signed up, got into school, and my colleague that I trade with now, she had went through the PTA program, and she hated it. And not that she hated it, but it was the aspect of insurance. That famous word. Insurance gets to dictate what PT, PTA get to do. So if you've ever been to like physical therapy, you know, they manipulate for a little while, and then a lot of it is you strengthening, things like that.
So are they required through the state to have insurance?
For like physical therapy and things like that, yeah, because it's all under medical, so they'll need, a lot of times insurance pays for physical therapy. Wow. And
so that insurance company is essentially saying, if you are to have our coverage, which you have to have, you have to operate in a certain way, or you have to not do certain things?
I would say, like, you can basically, we'll pay for X amount of manipulative. Like, they're actually manipulating. But then, you know, you need to write the plan of we'll pay for X amount of exercises.
Are you talking about insurance that you have to have, or the person?
No, the person.
Getting...
Like their medical insurance. I'm so sorry. Yeah, medical insurance. So and
that's okay. So they're dictating, their insurance is dictating what service that they're willing to pay for, which is essentially what said person is going to do, because that's who's paying them.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So when I was talking to Amanda, and like she was like, you know, I did PTA, like this is kind of how it was, she's like, I want to be the one to help the person. Like, I don't want someone telling me. And I was like, yeah, me neither. Like, I was like, I was going to go from here to the next level. And I said, I don't think I want to do that. I don't want someone telling me that, you know, well, right, this person had this done, and like we'll pay for this, and this, and then the other, you know, they're out on their own, and it's up to them to be responsible. I'm not going to do those exercises. I'm not going to do that after I leave there.
So, about how old were you when you decided that you wanted to do massage for a job? And
let's see, I got licensed 10 years ago, so I was 27.
Yeah.
When 27? I went to school, yeah, I was 27 when I went back to school.
Right.
Yeah. And then finished there towards the end, turned 28, and I opened up 5 years ago, full time after the kids. Thanks to my husband for pushing me to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
To have that kind of support, and not only support, just like
I was in a place in a job that I absolutely hated, and he was like, he's like, why don't you do what you wanted to do all this time? Yeah. Like, go, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was great.
That's killer.
So yeah, I was like, yeah, why don't I? And I guess I knew I had to support the whole time, but to hear that, I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, so.
So, that'd be the perfect segue into how did you meet your husband?
Oh, my daughter laughed at me when I was telling her about this. She's like, are you going to tell the story of Dad breaking a kid's ribs at school? And I was like, I guess. No. I don't think he broke them. We actually met in high school.
Okay. High school age kids doing high school stuff.
Yeah, so we met in high school.
Was that here, or where'd you go to high school?
Here, yeah.
In Olney?
Yes, in Olney, yeah. So, I was a freshman and he was a junior, I believe. Yeah. And so he honestly, what happened, a kid jumped him from behind, like in the class, like
just try to get him.
Yeah, and he like took him off and like swung him, and so everyone was like, oh my god, like I wonder if he got in trouble. So we had PE the next class together, and he had got us like called down, and I went, and everyone was like, oh, and I was like, so. Everybody wants to know but doesn't want to ask. How bad is your punishment? And so that's kind of how it all semi-started.
What, I don't know. So what initially, so once you met him, you know, and you guys were kind of talking or whatever, what drew you to him? What about, was there something about him or like...
So I'm a people watcher.
Yeah.
And like at first I had a few classes with him, and he was the quiet, shy person, but everyone around him was always smiling or laughing to the ones that he did talk to. And then I think after we got to know each other, I feel like because of my childhood, I was always serious at home. Like I was like that mother hen type person.
Wow.
And so he brought out the adolescence
in me
that I needed. Like he was that perfect balance, if that makes sense. Like
he kind of opened up the doorway for you to not have to be an adult and to kind of relax and not have to be on top of everything.
I always tell everyone he's my person. Like whether it's a bad day, a happy moment, whatever. Like he is that comfort. That's
awesome.
Yeah. So so that is what drew me to him. Is basically like he took me out and was like, hey, there's more to life than just
operation.
Yes, exactly.
There needs to be a leisurely activity and fun.
Yes.
You know, and that kind of thing. I tend to be more like you.
I am like one-minded, serious, like everything has a purpose, like,
but in that you forget, you know, hey, you don't have to think about everything.
Yes.
That's something that I learned from her massively. You know, you don't have to.
Yeah,
it's okay to relax.
It is, yeah. And that was
as I don't want to.
That was so hard for me to learn over the years, and it's still hard. And there's times it's like,
me too.
No, we need a break. Like we need to go do something or whatever.
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah.
So is there any like, wow? So Since high school, I couldn't.
Well,
imagine.
we were, there was a few years of not being together.
Ah.
And then, I mean, we're that sad, sappy story, I guess you could say. So we had our break. That's when he joined the National Guard. We started talking a little bit towards the end of him being an AIT. He came back. We said we were going to take things slow, and in 2 months got married.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was taking
Wow.
slow. Yeah, and here we are, 16, almost 17 years later, and
Good
it works.
That's awesome. So is there kind of things that you've been able to like observe from him that you kind of wish that you want to incorporate into your character? Like that said relaxing thing, any kind of lessons that you guys learn together or like tools that you guys use so that you can coexist in a more productive manner?
Oh, wow.
I know that's a big...
Yeah, that is a big question. That's a very big question. Something we've always agreed upon, and I'm very thankful for. And it's kind of what I tell my oldest. You can break the cycle. Does that make sense?
Like your normal pattern?
Yeah, you can. Well, and just like our upbringing compared to, I always told my oldest, like, she's had to grow. I feel like, I don't know, she's my best friend, one of my best friends, I'll say that. But I'm honest and open with her. Yeah. And like, you can break the cycle. Like, whatever we're doing that you don't care for, like, you can break the cycle. And
that's cool.
That was something like we both agreed upon, having children. And that was, my kids are probably spoiled. I'm not gonna lie.
So, but essentially, what were you wishing to accomplish by telling them that you can break the cycle? Is it like a thing for you to where, when you grow up and, if you don't know any better, you think your parents are like the perfect, like shining example of what you should be and how you should act and interact with people and stuff like that.
We don't fight in front of the, I can't say really we fight a lot. Our arguments are silent. We don't involve the kids first off.
Well, that's good.
And he's probably way better at communication than I am, to be honest. Because I'm an overthinker. I get in my own head, and so he'll be like, whatever you're thinking is not, he can see that and bring that.
Yeah,
it's time to figure out what's going on. Like, no.
So with where I was trying to go with that is like when you say break the cycle and you don't have to, if there's something about us that you don't agree with, you don't have to. Like, we're imperfect too.
Exactly, yes.
Like, we're all human beings and we're all in this together, and it's up to you to kind of formulate
what you want.
As opposed to emulating
what we are and what we do, yes. Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about parenting and whatnot, but I know my experience, and that would have been awesome.
I just know my experience was, and I say my grandparents, and I guess they were very up and honest.
Yeah, so they kind of same approach.
Yeah. I don't really can say I really saw them, like, their arguments or fights or anything. Like, they did not bring that out of, like, you need to take our side.
Yeah, that's a weird deal that people do.
But I'm probably way too honest with my children about things if they ask.
Why do you say that?
In today's society, like, there's so much for our children going on, like, bullying, B, everything's sexualized now.
Yeah.
Drugs, all of that. Like,
so why would you say that you're too honest with your kids, though? Because for me, and this is actually a fault, I am honest to a fault and not necessarily like a caring type of honest. I'm more of a brutally honest type person, which I've recently really, really been trying to work on. But so honesty is one of my main values. Like, I've had, especially recently, like some serious conversations with people that it was insanely hard, but I value honesty so much that I went ahead and I guess was led the way and paved the way for that conversation to happen. And so honesty is massive for me. why, in my mind, so I'm curious as to
Well,
why
I
you
guess-
think that you could be too honest with the kids. I also don't have kids.
No, it's
You know
totally
what I mean?
fine.
I don't know.
So, like, I guess I don't sugarcoat things, I guess, in
Yeah.
a way.
Do
Mistakes
you feel
happen.
like you're more honest in like a more kind of brutal manner like myself?
Yes,
or do you
yeah.
feel like you're more
Well, I don't-
compassionate with it and kind of like...
I don't want to be like that person that's like, I did this, you can't do that type of person.
Yeah, kind of like an authority.
Yeah, and
authoritative.
so I'm like, yeah, I did that. I was young, I was stupid. Like, I learned from my mistake, and I'm not naive. Like,
Yeah.
you are human, and it's
Yeah.
gonna probably happen, and I did it too. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So instead of hovering, I guess, I don't know if it's hovering, but it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, drugs are bad. Oh, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, I personally can't say I did them because I couldn't stand the smell of marijuana. But, you know, I underage drunk.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I guess so for me, I'm like, yeah, I had a partying stage or I had this or that for my 14-year-old, and I'm not stupid. Like, be responsible. Like, I know it's coming. Like, be responsible. Like, call me. Don't do this. Don't do that. But right now, her headset is where she, like, just her dreams and aspirations and the things that she has herself involved in. Like, she doesn't even have time because that's what she's set on right now. But I also know that at one point in time, that's coming.
Judging by the kids that I talk to in the barbershop, I think this is kind of an interesting deal. They get their social stuff through their cell phone or computer or whatever else, whereas when you and I were in our party phase, like, you had to go to the party house.
Yes.
Or you had to go to the public
right.
and, look at people face to face, and you guys, and it was like all kinds of people, like, in and out. You had like your friend group, but there was like different groups and everybody came together and stuff. I'm not sure that these kids kind of party the way that we partied. You know what I mean? I feel like if they do party, which I don't hear much about.
I don't either as of right now. I just do know that she's like, oh, there's something once it gets warmer, like, there might be some parties happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like since they have the technology to kind of, what do you say, like, prepare the party or whatever, like, it's like, so-and-so's going to be there, and they can kind of
judge on
cooperate with each other. Yes. And go. Whereas we just had to show up.
Yes.
And it's like, you can't just show up and then walk out the door because people are going to be like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's different. It's definitely different.
Technology. Like, the other day, so I don't know about you in school, but I think there was probably the 4 years I was in high school, probably 5-6 major fights, okay? Like, in the high school, though.
Like fist fights?
Fist
like
fights,
physical?
yeah.
Okay, all right.
And, she comes home and there's like, there's a fight. What? Like, it's prepared. Someone's recording it. Like,
oh, Lord. So I'm
like, you guys are idiots. Like, first off, I'm like,
funny.
What happened to go out to Millward Grove? And they're like, and I'm like, that is so crazy. And even before she was in high school, I had nieces and nephews, and like the same thing, the same aspect. Like, they pre-planned it, they did this, and it's like, you guys are idiots. Like, I mean, why do you want to record it? First off, like, why do you want that there?
Everybody wants to record everything.
It's the I was reading, what was it? The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and it's what did he call it? Mark Mason had a perfect thing. I forget, it's the Mason Law or something. Basically, like, everybody wants that good behavior. Like, they want that feel good, so they want to know what's going on, so that's why they're recording everything to show everybody the better of them, their happiness, this and that, or compared to, they don't want anyone to see any struggles, any.
Yeah.
And so it's the know-all, and that's why everybody is recording everything now. They want to be in the know-all of everything.
Jeez.
And that attention.
Weird.
compared to when like we were like, oh, you heard about it after the fact, or oh, did that really happen? Like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
like
You didn't know unless you were really there. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, it was that, an hour later, it was like old news.
I didn't want any attention in high school.
I didn't either.
I wanted to just sit in the corner, like go through the motion. Like I felt like high school was a complete waste of time.
Yeah, to an
And when I
aspect,
was
yeah.
in high school.
I agree. I kind of agree now. Honestly, talking to clients whose kids and now seeing my daughter there, they have a 4-year plan. They start in their freshman year. A lot of these kids
Really?
are graduating from the college a week before they actually graduate from high school.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
And I think that is a great aspect of
Wow.
so she's met with the counselor off and on because of things that she thinks she wants to do, and they kind of put you in those classes to get a feel for it so that you aren't paying and quitting college throughout. And so and every time you just make an appointment, you kind of talk with them like, okay, so you want to do this, so we're going to put you here. This class will have an introduction
awesome.
to this and that. And so I think that, I wish I would have had that, because
Me
I
too.
honestly, the first time I thought I was going to change the world and be a social worker,
Yeah.
went down to Wabash and dropped out after I had to do start at the practicum part and go to like home visits. And I was
Oh,
like, this is not for me. Like, I did
Yeah.
not want to do this. Like, more power to those out there doing it. But I was like, that is not me. Like, I want to help people, but I want to take these kids home. Like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. I'm like, and I thought I had a rough life. Wow. Yeah.
Jeez. So, yeah. Let's see what else we got. What is the, you were talking about the last time you had your son in for a haircut, I think. You were talking about a club that you're trying to start?
Yeah. So, there's a few other entrepreneur business owners, women here in town that I service, and we were just kind of chit-chatting one day about different organizations and things that are around town that are meant to help small businesses, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like, not that they don't, I just think I'm too small of a business for their services. If that
So
makes
it's like a
sense.
lane thing.
Yeah.
You see like a gap in the market,
Yes.
and you want to fill that.
Yeah. And so when I first started, I would meet with a friend and we would go to Affiliates Cup like once a month. And we take our computers and we just chit chat, and she was a whole different business compared to me. And then she's like, we'd just be chit chatting. I was like, oh, this idea came up. Like, why don't you try this or do something like this? She's like, I never would have thought of that. Oh yeah, that's like outside of my thinking. And then the next month we might be just chit chatting, and I was like, oh, I don't know, like this and that. And she would be like, oh, why don't you try this, or why don't you offer this, or are you capable to do this? Or, just trying to get me outside of my thinking box. And so,
that's awesome.
So yeah, we are trying to start a a women's small business club with like-minded people.
Yeah.
Just casual, hey, no fees, no nothing. Like, if you can come, like,
cool.
Maybe get some guest speakers in there who, can, So yeah, it's in the works. I mean, it's going to take a lot of planning and figuring out. But yeah, so that's just something, just the networking in a small town can be it can be great, or it can be just disastrous. And
it's
not disastrous.
Interesting.
It's just, it's not even disastrous. It's just interesting. Like,
it seems like a lot of people in Olney or possibly small towns or whatever are real cliquey, and they stick to their group, and as opposed to like kind of being open and welcoming to other people and other ideas and stuff. And if we are open to other people and other ideas, that's where you get what you're talking about. Like, that person doesn't think like you so you guys can complement each other and help each other toward the ultimate goal, which is prosperity.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
exactly.
You want to do and be better, and more is more.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and
we definitely,
it's much easier to do that with a group.
Yes.
A group.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's something in the works that we've sat down and talked a little bit about. Hopefully maybe this fall we can have something up and going.
Yeah.
Kind of like a meeting area, like topics, things like that, like a meet and greet type thing. And
that's cool.
yeah, so there are a lot of small entrepreneurs. It could be anything. It doesn't have to just be service.
Yeah.
Like I said,
an interesting question for you.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I've been considering. Don't get me wrong, I really, really like cutting hair, but standing in the spot that I stand in and doing that is rough on my body, one. And then two, I am extroverted, but dealing with people and having conversations with them all day. And, while I'm so I'm having a conversation with somebody, trying to figure out the pros and cons of what I'm doing in the haircut and trying to get that right, and listening to music at the same time. It's like, there's a lot going on. So if you're doing that for, 7.5 hours a day, it can wear on you.
Yes.
So I've been considering other options to where, I'll cut hair for this set amount of time, and then I'll focus my other attention on something else that could generate revenue as well. And I totally forgot where I was going with that. So.
More of are you talking about generation of revenue as in
just make money.
Well, yeah, it's selling,
that is where I was going. Service. We were talking about service. Okay, so I'm spending 7.5 hours a day actually serving people in general. But if in looking at these other possibilities of things that you can do to make money, I think it would be much better and more profitable if you actually sold something as opposed to providing a service.
Right.
What do you have any thoughts on that? Like, if you could go back and you could, start from, right after high school, and do you think it would be better to get into sales or get into some kind of other area other than service?
This is funny because my colleague and I, we are dangerous when we talk to each other. Listens to this, she's gonna be like, Sarah, stop. So no, I kind of agree with that. I've always thought about retail, but then I'm like,
yeah,
that, I don't want to be responsible for, inventory, things like
yeah.
that. But in the background of my mind and her mind, we are short-term rentals. Real estate really gets to us, and we will listen to podcasts or things like that, and then we'll start talking back and forth. And right now, I'm trying to convince her. I know this probably sounds crazy, but I'm like, we should start a massage school, a service school, because then we can teach them how we want. Yeah. And maybe open up a spa or things like that. And then I've talked to, there's a cosmetologist here who was like, I didn't learn, this and that. Yeah. And same thing. She's like, I keep on thinking about going back and getting my teaching part license to do this. And I'm like, not that, OCC is great. You learn your fundamentals, things like that. And I'm not trying to compete with them. But it's when you go to the bigger cities, if you've ever went down to Evansville, the off spa down there, it is a school and spa. Yeah. So they teach cosmetologists, they teach estheticians, they teach massage therapists.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so they've expanded over the last few years. That's cool. It is a private school, obviously. So there's no financial aid, things like that. Yeah. But the people wanting to do that are going to be the ones who they're gonna pay for that service no matter what, because that's what they want themselves. Whether they train them to come over and work at their spa, some of them do, some of them go on. Yeah. But that intrigues me. And so first we were like, first it got into, we were interested in real estate, and then it became like, oh, well, if we could find a building, we could do this.
Yeah.
We can do that. And so when her and I are together, we're always like thinking about that. And she's in Indiana, so it's like we've kind of like looked at both laws, things like that, because of she's in a bigger town than Olney. And so, yeah.
So when I got out of barber school, I've got my baseline knowledge of stuff. And then I chose to go the not safe route and go to a small business type barbershop, as opposed to like Sport Clips or Great Clips or anything like that. So the pros of going to somewhere like a chain is that you get an hourly wage and they, have a ton of products you can sell and stuff like that. Whereas to what I did, it's like sink or swim, like lots of pressure because you don't have that cushion of the hourly wage. And it was it took me, I will say that I was a terrible barber for probably, I don't want to say terrible, but I was not anywhere what I would consider a good barber for at least, and I mean on the threshold of even being a good barber, for at least 2 or 3 years of my first career, which means I didn't make a lot of money. My haircuts needed a lot of work. My consulting people, things like that. There was just so much that I didn't learn in school that I just threw myself into the fire and had to learn like right now, because every interaction that you have with every client matters.
Yes.
It was gnarly. So a lot of the times now, when like I have a client, they're like, oh yeah, my daughter's in cosmetology school, or, my son wants to be a barber, whatever else. I'm like, that's awesome. Bring him in. I don't care.
I know we've talked about that because my daughter wants to do that. Yeah. I
don't care what, you know what I'm saying? If you work on Main Street or if you work, here or there, I don't care, because I know what it's like to come fresh out of barber school and be in that situation. And it's not a good one, especially if whoever you're working with does not want to teach you. I think that's the most important thing when getting out of any type of service school, is get in with somebody who wants to teach you and they want to see you succeed.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Corbin Foster came to me. She's an esthetician. She came right out of T-Spa. She was working out of a place with another lady. I offered her my room for a week when I was on vacation. She's great at what she does. She does eyelashes, things like that. I don't know all the information when people ask me. They're like, oh, I saw her card, or she's over there. And I'm like, okay, I cannot answer, but please get a hold of her.
People do that with me and my significant other business. I'm like, guys, I really have no idea. Reach out to her and she'll get you straight.
There's a name drop. I'm not gonna lie. So someone called me not too long ago, and they tried to name drop my husband's name. Like, I work with him. I was like, I've never heard of this name before. And so of course he knows. I'm like, yeah, no. He's like, nope. Anyone ask, I tell them to contact you. I have no clue. And I was like, well, this person is like, I don't even work. Like, they're on a different shift than me, whatever. And I was like, please do not name drop, because that's not going to get you anywhere quicker or sooner.
That's funny.
So that, I get that. It's like, I hate when people are like, oh, but, and I'm like, no, that's not how this works. And I know that you didn't talk to him, because he would have told you total opposite. He was like, I don't know, talk to her. Yeah. But back to Corbin, I told her, I do not want to be your boss. I do not want to be anything. Yeah. Where I'm at now has multiple suites, and she was interested in that suite. And so I was like, totally up to you. Yeah. Here are the days that I work. Here are the days I don't. If you want to come in and, work here until that suite is done, please do so. And within a couple of months, I told her, you are your own entity. I am not here to tell you, but, here's kind of how my office runs. Yeah. I want to be a mentor to that aspect. And I'm thankful. She was able to, move into her own suite, things like that. Sweet girl. Sweet girl.
So I have, I want other people to do better too. And it's not to build my own ego, oh, I taught that person this, so that makes me important and I'm awesome. It's because it like makes my heart and soul feel good that I'm actually possibly making a difference in somebody's life and helping them to be more prosperous. That is what it is for
just
me.
Genuine.
And it's a beautiful thing, is that.
It is, yeah. And it's kind of like, I don't know about you, but referrals. Like when you get a referral, like someone sent you a referral, like that's genuine. Like that's my business is based off of referrals, not any advertising, anything like I did. That's a genuine, thank you from that person. Yeah. And same as, like, I'm not here to make money off of this person or that person. Like, if you want to come talk to me about business, I can give you in depth the struggles I've overcome. You can take it however you perceive and run with it. Like, you don't have to do it my way. That's just how it's worked for me.
In hopes to help.
Yes. Your clientele may be totally different than my clientele. Like, that's the other thing. Like, they don't teach you in school as like how to build the clientele you want. They want you just to be a service member, just whoever and anyone. And there are great people in all our surrounding towns. And I'm not saying I'm disappointed in this person or that person. I just focus on what I know best. Yeah. And the modalities that I can do. Yeah. And so if they call and inquire about, oh, can you do this? I'm like, I personally cannot. It's not that I don't want your business. Yeah. It's just, I can say I know a little bit about it, but I am not I'm a perfectionist, obviously. Yeah. I can't give you all aspects of that. But
same thing.
I do know that this person in this neighboring town who has those qualifications, who's went to this place, who's, studied for that, and I highly recommend that person. Yeah.
I feel like there's that applies to barbering as well. Like, there are certain things that I think I do very well, and there are certain things that either one, I'm just not interested in learning, or, it just doesn't do anything for me, and whatever else. We all operate in a certain manner, in a certain direction, and it's like a specialty type thing. I feel like
same with cosmetologists. Certain are better at certain colors than this or that. Like, I mean,
and you find out what you do, and then you can either choose to lie to people and say, yes, I can do that, or you could be the person that says, I can do that, but I'm not very good at it. And in my field, they're a walking billboard. When they walk out, like, their haircut is a direct representation of what I'm doing in the business. So, that took me a long time to kind of learn. I wouldn't say a long time, but it took me longer than it should have.
Right, yes.
To learn that, hey, I am not comfortable doing that because that is not the expertise in which I operate.
Did you ever find that people in your surrounding was like, oh, but this person's doing this, maybe you should do that? Like,
all the time. Yeah.
And when and at the beginning, I was like, maybe I should. Like, oh, okay, maybe I never thought of that. But then I'm like, I absolutely hate doing that. Like, why? And then when you find your way, you're like, no, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm good at, and this is what I'm gonna stick to.
For sure, it's kind of the chain mentality. The chain, what is it? Like the corporate mentality. It's like everybody expects you to be a Walmart. So you got to know everything about everything. Well, not necessarily. I don't think Walmart employees know much about everything in the store. That would be pretty impressive if they did. But they expect you to have to be good at everything to do with, for me specifically barbering, or, I get asked a lot of questions that I have no idea. And I'm going to be like, guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I do not know about that because what I focus on is this and this. I don't focus on that. And I'm sorry that part of me feels like I should be able to answer their questions,
I agree.
But a part of me is like, I'm just not interested in that. And I don't want to.
No, I get that. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of times I feel like people think medical. I should know more medical, or they'll
Yeah,
call
like
me about
medical
and
knowledge.
I'm like, first off, I don't have a doctorate. I cannot
Yeah.
diagnose whatsoever. I can and I can't and my in-depth training, again, we learn the basics. Like I know, like I'm like, that kind of sounds like this, but do you go to a chiropractor? Do you go to your doctor? Like, ask them. They're gonna know more about it. I mean, it kind of sounds like this. I've ran into a little bit of that, but I can't diagnose. I can't say that's what you have. Next time you go to the doctor, ask them if, a lot of times with sciatica, it's piriformis syndrome. I ran into that. And so like when it's not constant and there's no structural issue, a lot of times like their piriformis and their glute muscle is super tight and pushing on there. And so I've ran into that over the years. So I'm like, ask them if they think it could be this. Like I can't say that, but it kind of, it kind of sounds like that. So go to your doctor and ask them. And a lot of times I'll be like, they're gonna, PT, different things like that to strengthen the other muscles around there. Like, I was like, that's kind of what you're looking at. But I know, like, I wash my hands of that.
Yeah. So, for me in the barbershop, there's like, okay, so we got Instagram and TikTok and all this other crap, And, and a lot of that stuff, I don't want to say a lot of it, but a fair amount of that stuff is doctored, like through, like apps or whatever. They edit the photo and they do, they do all kinds of weird things, and that kind of sets a standard to, especially these younger kids or just people in general, and they have a certain expectation coming into your business that might possibly be unrealistic. Like, we are human beings at the end of the day, and we do what we do, and is there any of that type of like unrealistic expectation that you have to deal with? So people bring in pictures a lot of the time. The hair texture, like, is nowhere close
to theirs,
to the picture. Yeah, they're as well as the hair color, right? Like, if somebody is a blonde person, especially really blonde and has pale skin, you're not going to get the kind of contrast in a haircut that you're going to get on somebody like myself, where I'm pale and my hair is really dark. So there's a lot of contrast there. So when you get a fade, it really pops. Where, blonde people will come in expecting like that type of a thing. And when you actually blend a fade out the proper way that it's supposed to be, you can almost not see a fade on a blonde person. Is there any unrealistic expectation like that you have to deal with in massage?
Yeah, I guess scraping or grafting, things like that. Like, a lot of them, I personally don't have that technique, and it may be out there. I've not learned. The way I was learned, it wasn't called grafting, it was called gua sha, and it's not even I've talked to a chiropractor, his training with actual grafting compared to what I was learning, he's like, well, I don't understand why they would teach you, like, not do this or that or that. I'm like, I don't know, like, this is just kind of how I was taught this. I use it to an aspect if I, plantar fasciitis and different things like that, but to go into depth, a lot of them, if you've watched the guys that train like bodybuilders, they're using that to separate and get definition in muscles. I've had people ask me if I would do that. I am not trained. I'm not going to do that. Like, whatever. I mean, I had one guy goes, well, I normally just take a spoon and get in there and dig to help separate that. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable doing that. Like, if that's your thing, great. I
think I witnessed a conversation like that when I was coming in to get a massage. When you were at the gym, there was a guy, and I mean, this guy was freaking massive, dude. I was like, dang.
We had a guy that
he was talking about a spoon, something with his bicep or his tricep or something. With a spoon, and I'm like, that's interesting. I don't know. So you can actually separate the kind of definition of the muscle through, like,
basically
putting pressure with a hard object?
So what, I guess, to an aspect of probably what they're doing is the origin and the insertion, like where the muscle attaches and that. And they're just kind of getting that definition. But you got to also think, they're fasting. They're dehydrating themselves. Like, when they're doing these competitions, like, that's so unhealthy.
I look at some of these people and I'm like,
Yeah, I personally want
It's wild.
no take in that. Like, if you want the bottom of your foot scraped because you have plantar fasciitis and rolling on a tennis ball is not helping you, yes, I will grab that tool out and I will gladly do that. But as of to do something like that, I have not trained for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I could figure it out because of past training I have, but I personally want no, I don't want any partake in any of that because, you know, I don't know what else is going on. I don't want to be the reason of a torn bicep or something like that. Like, no, I'm not in it for that. Cupping wise, with the swimmers, like Michael Phelps, things like that. You know, I do cupping. I love cupping, to be honest. As of the pump cupping or static cupping, that's where you see, like, the swimmers, like, they have this big old bruising, things like that. Now, the cupping that what I took was you don't want things to sit more than, 8 to 10 minutes, give or take, with those. They have magnets because in, like, ancient Chinese, like, like,
I've
the
got
different
cups and they have magnets too, and I'm like, what's that about?
And like the meridians, you're supposed to follow, like, the meridian lines and things like that. So, like, in ancient Chinese, like, you're drawing toxins that out, and you're using the magnets, so it's gonna make things a little bit bigger, as in bring the skin up bigger and draw things out. Kind of, I guess. We didn't really touch a whole lot on that part of cupping when the class I took. It was more the silicone cups. Yeah. Like the ones that
you kind of squish, put it on there, and then it does its thing.
And I love those because the body tells me.
Yeah.
So that is why I love silicone cups. I found that my fibromyalgia patients who suffer and are in pain, who literally, if you have fibromyalgia, people touching you, you just cringe. Like, you're in so much pain. So I found that I can ease them and do just spread lotion, and use that. And that's like a deep tissue work on a fibromyalgia patient. Like, because it's raising and getting blood and stuff coming, and it's raising up enough of the tissues and that. And so that is one reason I love that, for that aspect of people who are in chronic pain and cannot take that. The other thing is the body tells you. So a lot of times when you're sliding those and an area sticks and I can't move it, like, there's something going on. Is that where
it needs to be?
Yeah, and that's where it needs to be. Wow. And I love that the body tells me that.
That's
and I'm
cool.
like, okay, so, and it may be something that I don't even feel.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so that needs to stay there for a little while. And then sometimes it pops it off. Like, someone's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't move. And I'm like, no, it's fine. It's got enough blood flow that it needs. Like, the body has done, and it's going to help repair itself or whatever's going on there. And then I can go and kind of work on that area a little more. So, and fixing people, that's the unexpected. I've seen, well, they said that, they did this, and like, it just helped, like, on this video, like.
Well, we're individuals.
Yes.
We're not all the same.
Exactly.
So what works for me and my body may not work for you and your body, same as diet and all that other stuff, you know what I mean? It's not a one size fits all deal.
I've seen, things, work on this person, but then another person come in talking about having the same kind of issues, and I'm like, I'll try this. And like, I always say it's kind of trial and error in an aspect of different things when something's going on. It's like, we can try this. I've seen it work in the past, but I don't know. Like, don't get discouraged if it doesn't. Yeah. We can try.
So there's a bit of a process.
Yes, there's a process. There definitely is a process.
Same with me in haircuts. If somebody comes in, I can get a rough idea of, based on the density of their hair, the texture of it, and that kind of thing, of what I think might work and how I think it's going to turn out. But you have no idea until you actually get in there and do it, which is that's kind of a expectation versus reality thing too, for the barbershop, at least how I operate.
No, and like one session, like a one session thing. Like, I'm like, I don't like to tell people you need to come back. Like, I don't know their pocketbook. I don't know, like, what they're, but I will say, hey, let's see how this does. Let me know in a few days, or I'll check in on you in a few days to see where you're at with it. If you're really sore the next day, you know, like the next time we may need to do this or try this, or because everyone's pain tolerance is different too.
Yeah. I feel like my pain tolerance is real low.
There's a lot of people that's like no pain, no gain, and I'm like, no, like it doesn't have to be that. Like, you know, they yeah, and I'm like, no, it doesn't always have to be no pain, no gain. I can be like, you know, let's try this or that. Like, oh, I didn't feel the pain, but then they're like, oh, that felt so much better, and it may be a lighter touch or movement or something, something along those lines. So, I guess realistic as results, if that makes sense. Yeah. A lot of times they think, oh, I'm just going to come in and you're going to fix me. And I'm like, ugh.
Maybe that's a better part of like retail and a different kind of business too. It's like when they buy a bottle of barbecue sauce, like they know what they're getting roughly, you know what I mean? And it's the same every time, which is not how I think service works, at least when you're doing something like that.
And I have some clients who come in and they're like, do your thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be like, what, you know, what's ailing? And
then they kind of have like, do they give you an idea of kind of what direction they want to go in, and then leave it to your expertise to give the best situation for them?
Mm-hmm.
My all-time favorite clients will give me a bit of direction and say, this is kind of what I want to go for. Do your thing and make that work. That is how you're going to get the best results in my situation. 100%.
Yeah.
Please.
There's a few people who will come in and I'm like, so this month, you know, this is kind of what's taken on. I'm feeling pain here, but I'm sure it's referred pain from somewhere else or this or that. Like, they are just like, I'm like, so do you want me to focus on that area the most, or what do you want? And a lot of times they're like, whatever you can get in my allotted time, do your thing.
Yeah, whatever you think will help this situation.
Those, I feel like, are my best sessions.
Yeah.
With people.
It's probably better for you. It's better for them.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, like, I'm going to assess this. I'm going to do this. And then, like, they don't expect everything done.
Yeah.
And that they came in for just that. And that's what I always tell my clients. Like, it's your session. Like, you don't have to get everything done. Yeah. You can just work on your problem areas. Like, what do you want done? And then there are people who are like, well, I was kind of hoping that, you know, I told you that was my area, but I was kind of hoping you were going to do everything. And then I'm like rushed. And I'm like, you're not getting quality time because I feel rushed now because I took it as when I asked you, this is what you want done. And now, but and it's fine. Like, I accommodate. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Well, they don't understand exactly what you do and whatnot too. Yes. So that is a factor, you know, that you gotta be considerate of.
Yes.
Do you deal or have you dealt with anyone, like a client, that had like some kind of a sensory issue? Or do they tend to, well, I mean, I could imagine that type of a person's like not coming to.
Well, so I have one lady who suffers from multiple different things. And I guess her sensory issue is sound. So, and more or less, not touch. And so a lot of times I already know, and I've known it for a while now, but I turn the sound machine off. I turn the music off. Like,
so you're just, wow.
It's complete silence. And that's fine. Like, for me, not a big deal. And for her, I want her to feel comfortable.
For sure.
And it's just due to auditory things. And it's not all the time. Sometimes she's like, oh, you can have this on today. But it's because of when her body's in flare-ups for issues that she has.
Yeah. And so that kind of exacerbates
to
the auditory issue.
Yes.
That's interesting.
So yeah, when it comes to that, like, I know for her, like, most of the time I automatically just turn the sound machine off and I will turn down the music. And if she says, it's not that bad today, you can have some music on or whatever, or there maybe halfway through her session, can you turn that down or turn that off? And I'm like, not a big deal.
Absolutely. Accommodation.
As of, I can't really say I have. Now, I had a young child in, was having anxiety, sleeping, things like that.
Yeah.
Mom wanted to bring them in to see if it would help.
Yeah.
He was very anxious coming in. Again, with the comfort level, I just asked him, like, okay, so what do you want? And he's like, he was like 8, I think. And I was like, youngest person I've ever worked on besides my own children. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, I just thought it was a good idea. And so, she's like, well, he rubs my feet every once in a while. So I asked him, I was like, would you be okay if I rub your feet? And he was like, yes. And so we sat and we just chit-chatted. And so that was his first appointment. By the second appointment, he goes, I want to take my shirt off and have you work on my back and my head. And then I did that. And so I would say anxious-wise, I wouldn't say he was like very crazy of everything. It was just more of the fact that, his nerves and he was already going through something, not sure what, and his mom wanted to try that before, medicine, things like that. And she did. She sent me a message back the first time. It was like, he slept.
No doubt.
He slept for 4 hours.
Huh. That's always awesome I'm sure that's very rewarding.
It is. It's very rewarding. I'm like, aw. Just the mom and me. I'm like, that's great.
I have some autistic clients that come in and they've got sensory issues, and it's really, they're some of my most rewarding clients, most fun for sure, especially one specifically. I mean, this kid is just, I don't want to go into too much detail, but it just brightens my day every freaking time, man. And it's something really cool, but that's something that I have to work around too, to be able to facilitate that type of a thing. I never dealt with that type of thing down in Florida, and when I came up here, this one specific client that I'm talking about was my first one, and I really, really wanted to learn how to do that way. It wasn't it wasn't such a big deal to come get a haircut, and that because there's noise and there's feeling and stuff like that, and you learn their little quirks and stuff, and it's so cool.
That's rewarding.
I've got one that first and foremost, so I'll tailor the whole haircut around the person's needs. The one kid, it's all about the bangs being in his eyes and on his forehead and his face and stuff. So that's the absolute first thing I'll do is I'll wet his hair down and I'll take care of those bangs, because that's the thing. And then I've got another one too that loves to be sprayed with a water bottle. So before they leave, they'll hop out of the chair and they'll come over. Can you spray my head with a water bottle? Absolutely, man. I got you, dude. And I kind of just missed it on him, and he loves it.
That is awesome.
We're back. Are there any client stories that you want to talk about, good or bad, that you think might be interesting? Or if you don't want to get into that, that's totally fine too.
No. I was thinking about this the other day. Rewarding. So I had a gentleman who had broke his leg. This was a few years back. Had very poor circulation going on. Like, the leg he broke was very discolored. Yeah. Like, kind of black and blue bruise, never came out of that. Wow. And he was coming regularly for about a year or so afterwards, and just the insight of massage, moving, and making blood flow. Like, he's by the end, before, I think he moved, that's why he quit coming. But skin tone finally back just from the circulation. So that was rewarding to see that, and him to say, like, I actually can feel now. Like, after I broke my foot, like, and leg in that area, I could not really, there wasn't much feeling there, and blood flow. And so he even said, like, after one of his appointments going back, the doctor was like, oh, what are you doing besides, at PT that, that's finally coming back? And because it was a long process. I don't even remember the whole story, but he was off for a while because of, how the damage in that. So that was kind of rewarding to see. I already talked about the little boy with anxiety.
Yeah.
He came for a while until he got kind of on a regular sleep schedule and was sleeping at least decently during the night.
Is there do you have like an absolute nightmare client story?
Really? Well, I can't say nightmare. I'm notorious, like, red flags. Okay, so we're in a small community, and I think you asked me about this one time when I brought my son, and I had made a post about soliciting.
Mm-hmm.
I did not have really one that came into my office that tried or did anything. A colleague of mine had a person who was very just trying with a therapist at her place. I think
I know what you're talking about, but I don't really feel like you're coming directly out and saying what.
So I had a very vague message after, and I've been in business for 3.5 years, I think, almost 4 years at this point.
I cannot imagine dealing with this situation.
And so I had a phone call, and this person was persistent, and we were on vacation, and so my recording said, all my stuff is online, like, I will return phone calls when we get back. Message me, like, send me a text message, and I was like, here's the link. Didn't say who they were. It was a out-of-town number, obviously. It wasn't a 618 number. And I was like, at this time, I'll get back to everyone. And that was the end of it. And so I didn't think anything of it. Like, I really didn't. Get back from vacation, like, trying to get back to people on top of working. And so this person sent me a message and says, hi. And I was like, I looked at it, I was like, okay, this is weird. And I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. I didn't see, like, that you made an appointment while I was gone. Is there anything I can help you with, type thing?
Mm-hmm.
And was like, I looked at your site, and I don't know if it was a woman, a man, I don't know. And it came through as, well, I looked at your site, and it's very vague. So that's odd, because I literally have, like, 5 services that I attend to. And I was like, okay. And so the message was like, it doesn't say if you do full body.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh. So I go, can you tell me what kind of issues you're having? And it was like, all of it. I'm like, red flag here. I'm on sites in groups of, like, people in bigger towns and cities, and, like, they get these things all the time, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, whatever. So I respond back with, like, sciatic issues, like, plantar fasciitis. I started naming things off, and I was like, yes, all of it, winky eye. And so I just, at that point, I'm like, I'm not sure what you're getting at, but I don't think you are the right therapist, or I'm the right therapist for you. And that's just how I shut it down right then and there. But I personally had not had anything like that ever happen to me. And a colleague of mine in a different town, and it wasn't horrible, I guess, per se, but we had a conversation, and the person was like, I'm hot. Can I, move the sheet here or there, or this or that type thing. And they stopped the session, obviously, but I guess in retrospect, I was like, wow, this really does, like, happen. And I guess I was lucky, but when I said that, I responded with, like, I don't think I'm the right therapist that you're seeking for. I'm not really, you're being very vague on your comments.
Those kinds of services.
And I responded with, like, what was your name again? Because I would like to be able to, inform those who need to be informed of someone trying to solicit in our area. And it was just, thanks, never mind. that was it. That was the end of the conversation. But so I haven't really had I would say, nightmare client.
Yeah, but that was kind of a nightmare situation.
That was a nightmare situation. And if, I personally, I guess I kind of scream. Like, I want to know who's referred you to me. Like, I will ask questions over the phone when they call, things like that. Because that's my own safety, I guess.
Exactly.
And I'm glad nothing came of that. And if anything has happened to anyone in this town, I feel so sorry for them if that has. I hope they never had to come into that situation or feel uncomfortable. But that, like, right there, like, my gut feeling is like, this is not right. Something's off here. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a funny story for you, but so I'm much like you in that aspect. Is if I were in your shoes, I personally would be assuming the worst and want to be prepared for that, and or preferably not even enter into a situation. But if it arises, I want to be prepared for it. So there are certain precautions that I have set in place in the barbershop as well, especially because I used to do cash only. And, there were some people that I would deal with that I was not comfortable around having a wad of cash on me. And not being prepared. So, yeah, I try to be prepared. But so here I had a client down in Florida that this goes with the solicitation with what you were talking about. I think you might find this hilarious. So it's kind of funny from my perspective, but the whole situation's not really that funny. So this guy, he would come into the barbershop and he was in his mid 40s, like early 50s. But he would act very, juvenile. He was very socially awkward. You could tell he probably spent most of his time by himself in his free time, because just the interaction that I had with him was kind of led me to that conclusion. But, so really, really strange guy. And I'd been cutting his hair for like maybe 6 months at this point. And he started to talk about this Asian massage parlor. So he came in the barbershop. Normally he was like all awkward and kind of weird about it. He was socially awkward. So this day he came in smiling, and he was standing up real straight, and whatnot. And I'm like, what's going on with you, man? What's you're glowing. And he, through the conversation, told me that he had went to an Asian massage parlor on 41, which I don't have a clue where he was talking about. But I was like, oh yeah, that's cool, man. Like, did they treat you well in there or whatever? And he essentially explained to me that he had lost his virginity to said worker. And I was like, what a story that is. Yeah. Just the whole thing about it. That's just crazy. Well, and this is a thing. Those they probably don't want to be doing that. No. You know what I mean?
A lot of that stems from, we did go over a lot of this in school. I will say that. Yeah, that is one good thing that we did go over. Back in the day, massage parlors, not massage therapists, massage parlors were opened up for sex trafficking.
Yes, that's what I think that situation was.
Like a hen house type thing, a madam and things like that. And so because at that time, even early, way back then, it was a learned process. Huh. Okay, and still to this day, there are certain states. Illinois is a state that has always been licensed. Yeah. So
you've always had to have a license to do massage work.
Yeah. When body work and stuff, I don't remember. I'd have to look it up of when all that happened. But they were one of the states that is licensed. There are still states now. You just have to be certified. Yeah. And with that being said, how they get away with this is they will pay for a certification for someone. Yeah. to go to school, get that certification. And because they don't have, they'll forge information, things like that, and they'll hire these other.
Wow.
Yeah, and they are just, and they'll.
That's terrifying.
Yes, yeah.
What a deal.
It's crazy to even think that. And so that, I mean, from the get-go, like, it still happens, unfortunately, because of mandations are not all there. I know Indiana at the time, I mean, I think this year, I believe, is what, was it last year? They had to get licensed. So that's going to shut down a lot of places in that area. Because my friend works in Indiana, and like they just now started where they have to actually have continuing education, because they never had to have continuing education.
Oh yeah, that would kind of cut down on that.
Yeah,
I do want to clarify with the story that I told. I did say that I think it's a kind of a funny story. What I think is funny about that story is the fact that the guy was a virgin at that age, as well as his demeanor coming in, and he was all proud of that situation. I kind of like, that's kind of comical to me, but like the story in general is
serious.
It's like, serious. That's not serious, so I don't want to.
Right. No.
I don't think that kind of stuff is funny, guys, at all. That's horrifying.
Clarification, yes.
Horrifying.
It is, yeah. I mean, and it's sad that this still happens. I hate to say that in this world.
It's wild.
It is crazy. A few years ago, my friend that does work in Indiana, she had bought out from another massage therapist, worked under a chiropractor, and this place had came in and she had sent me the information, and she's like, how long do you think this place will be open?
Yeah.
And it was called Asian Massage.
Oh,
and
Lord.
the pictures, like all of that on there. And I was like, well, you haven't had much of that, people asking for that. She's like, I know, but I find it, degrading, first off, and B, like, really?
Yeah, almost like a situation to where like you're grouped into that now because you're a massage therapist and they're over there doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same thing in like barbershops, but it's obviously not to that extreme, but it's like somebody will go have a bad experience somewhere or whatever else, and then like, I'm grouped into that.
Yes.
It's not.
It's
kind of the stigma, I guess, behind it, but we're not all the same.
Exactly. Yeah,
there's despicable people everywhere.
Story about that. A gentleman, his wife had bought a gift card, and he had been elsewhere for massage in the past, and he had come in, and he literally was like, "I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. Like, I'm only coming because she bought this for me. I don't understand why someone would pay to have a massage."
Yeah.
And
well, why even come? Why not just like give it to your buddy and just say, "Yeah, I'm going," and go to the gym or something.
And so I was like, I understand that, not a big deal. But it was more of the massage she had was at like a spa or something with her. And they had done a couples massage, and
so
it was more relaxation. And so he just did not understand like why someone would, Yeah,
and so then I get it too. The first few massages I got were that way. Yeah. And I'm like, this is not for me. It's kind of, because like I said earlier, I don't like to be touched by people. So yeah, why would I want to go in and lay down on a table while somebody touches my body? It's just kind of a weird thing for me. It's not relaxing.
You're paying for it. Like,
not relaxing.
Yes, no.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I totally get that. So then after the session, he was like, that's not what I experienced before. And I was like, well, you told me the problem areas you wanted worked on. And I said, that's what I was focusing on. And I said, not every massage therapist is the same. I said, we each learn differently. There's many modalities, and I mean hundreds of modalities, which is different services and body work and that to offer. And so, like I said, I stick to what I know. Yeah. I can go out there and learn everything and try to be the best at that. Like I've been to reflexology classes and people ask me, and like, I've been to it. I don't practice it. I don't really, I understand the concept, and there's certain things on the feet that I can touch and points and can be like, oh yeah, something's going on here or whatever. But to actually sit there and be like, oh, pay me for an hour session. I'm going to fix you by, certain aspects of the feet. And it's probably because
dreams are going to come true.
Yeah. And it's not that I would say I'm against that. Like, I know I have certain clients who go to Vincent's to see a reflexologist, and that's great. And I will, get that information to anyone who wants it and give that to them. But I feel it was my training. Have you ever been to like a continuing ed or something like that, and you're like hyped up, you really want to learn it, and then you get in there and you're like, the instructor is not what you expected, half-assing everything, and then I'm like, I was super excited, I really wanted to offer this, and now I'm like, ugh, like I'm drawn away from it. And I know there's other people I can go take these classes from at that point. I'm like, I'm not going there now. Like I'm done. Like they ruined that for me, unfortunately. And maybe eventually I'll, find, I'll have to find some other things to help my body that are lighter on my body, I should say, eventually to continue what I'm doing. But at this point I'm like, I'm not gonna go there right now. Like that person totally ruined that for me. It's not what I expected it to be.
I definitely went to continuing ed classes and stuff, and I was blown away about how basic that class was. So I was like, why would I even go to continuing ed at this point? Like, I tend to be a very detail-oriented person, especially if I'm going to go to like a class or something and dedicate my time or money to that. It's just mind-boggling that, in my experience, continuing ed is just mind-boggling. So let's talk about, so what kind of services do you provide, and why do you provide them?
So my service menu is pretty basic, I would say, like therapeutic massage, which is in between. We can fix it to relaxation or deep tissue. And so a lot of times I found myself, I would have both of those on my service menu at the beginning, but I was always doing more deep tissue work and things like that on people. And so I just made it therapeutic. That way we can, we can figure out.
So what is the difference between a deep tissue and
the Swedish?
Sure. So, what is the difference in the two things that you just described?
Okay, so Swedish massage is like what you're going to get when you go to a spa. That is for someone who just wants to come in and forget about the world for an hour. Just
so it's a nice relaxing
ambiance type thing, type thing. Where deep tissue work is getting into the more super fascia. Or like,
what is that?
So, and deeper into the muscle. So like we have our skin, like we have layers of everything. We have fascia, which is like a spider web or a safety net, and it covers everything. Our organs, our muscles, like around our tendons. So it's things that a lot of times when you feel like the knotted up area, a lot of it's going to be in that fascia. And it's basically that it's intertwining. And so like it's striated, and then it starts to, make that knot.
Wow.
And so a lot of times when you feel those, that's a trigger point is basically what we end up calling that. And so that area, whether it's trying to save you from tearing a rotator cuff, something like that. And so those are there. And that's normally the nervous system hits those, and you're like, pain, those are your pain.
So as opposed to providing, you're not focused on just a relaxing experience. You're focused on actually
pain management, I would say.
Managing the issue?
Yes, managing the issue.
Your client has.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
cool.
Yes. So for me, it's more of whether it's digging, getting some, into that area, holding, positioning, maybe doing some motion, things like that. Getting better range of motion, just relieving tension and pain from that area after overuse of work or anything like that. So that's why I name it therapeutic.
Yeah. So repetitive things like jobs where you do repetitive
your job
motion.
Is one of the worst jobs, I will say.
Yeah, for sure. So people with repetitive motion, things like that, you get all balled up and do your best to solve that
Yes.
issue, or at least help to manage it
To manage it,
through
yes.
Swedish massage.
More
Or,
therapeutic.
excuse me.
Sorry, therapeutic.
Swedish was the other.
Yes. So that's more
Okay.
relaxation.
What else do you, what other kind of, what
So
else
I
do you
do
do?
Thai massage, and that is where I told you is on the floor on a mat. And
Yeah.
it's not, when you think of massage, it is not like lotion.
It's not it.
Yeah, you're going to come in your workout clothes, and we're going to put, say, hip issues. Like that is another one. Or I have a client who has RA, and so when she gets flare-ups, like her joints hurt. So it's
Yeah.
I've experienced it, and the way I can explain it how I feel after I love Thai massage is
It sounds interesting
it's
from the
light.
conversations I've had with you.
Yes, you're just lighter. Like, does
Yeah.
that make sense? Like, your
Oh, yeah.
joints are lighter. You get to sit there and relax, as in, you can stretch yourself, right? We can do a stretching, but we're only going to go as far as we can.
Yeah.
Where with the Thai massage, I may stretch you in a position, they're like, oh, okay, you can only go this far. So now we're going to put you in, whether it's hip circles, things like that, to kind of loosen up what's going on in there and see how farther we can get you into a better stretch, things like that. So, and then compression, it's a lot of compression.
Yeah.
And so broader, not like digging into the area, but the compression just kind of helps. If that makes sense. Loosen things up around areas.
Very cool.
And then I do prenatal massage for moms to be, and hot stone.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to get into?
I have cupping. I can do cupping. I normally add that into my sessions. It's easier on my body to work on certain areas and use that. And then the scraping. Like I said, normally plantar fasciitis, scraping in the bottom of the foot, things like that. I use hot towels, and that I know you have asked me in the past, like, what is the purpose of hot towels? And there's no purpose. I just tried, for the most part, I tried to utilize that for a little extra, just a relaxation, a little extra. It's just something that I give to people.
I get asked that question all the time, why I use hot towels, and there is a reason. And it's not relaxation. But, anything else you want to get into? Or do you want to go ahead and just tell the folks how to get a hold of you, where you're at, anything like that?
I don't think I have anything else that I can, think of at this time. So yeah, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Sara Buckles LMT is my pages. Otherwise, you can shout out at me. Call at 618-839-4493, or use the booking app on Massage Books.
Massage Books. There it is. Well, Sara, thanks for coming. It's been a great conversation. I really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to see how the future goes with everything on this.
Hopefully it continues to be fun.
Yes, exciting. Thanks.
Well, thanks.